Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Ming-Ching, and it is my second year of master degree in NTU. So it's glad to be here to share with you my own research. And my topic is evaluation of visual parameters based on panoramic streetscape in 3D urban landscape simulation. And my advisor is Professor Chiang. So let's get started. So these are my content, and let's get started with my research background and motivation. So in Taiwan, the building ages in the urban area is generally getting higher. And actually in Taipei City, the average building age is around 38 years old. And the existing urban planning actually really considers about the residence views. And most studies, related studies, have always focused on some energy analysis and urban heat island effect. Actually, they are also very important, but in our opinion, we think that we have to have more attention on how residents really feel about where they live. So my research objective is to identify some key factors in streetscape ratings through parameters analysis. So let's get into some literature review. And before that, I want to introduce a parameter definition called view factors. And in the area of thermal radiation issues, it means the proportion of the radiation which leaves surface A and strikes surface B. And in our research, we will mention it as the SBF, GBF, and BBF. BBF, which refer to the proportion of sky, greenery, and buildings in our view. So there are also some similar parameters like view index in other research. And like you can see, here are some calculation method of sky view factor with 2D and 3D functions. And as a very important factor that will influence sky view factor very directly, height to width ratio is also one of the factors that we care about. So for the environmental geometry parameters, there are researchers that map sky visibility in Hong Kong streets to emphasize the role of view factor analysis in urban planning. And also here are some functions that they develop a method to calculate sky view factor using panoramic images. And it is also one of the very important functions that we have utilized in our research. And for the streetscape assessment, MIT has created a phase called database for street view ratings through a large online survey. And they define some very important evaluation, which including safety, lively, boring, well, depressing, and beautiful. And okay, let's skip this one. Okay, okay. Also, for how we select the evaluation, we will do some literature review about the experiment method, and we found that VR technology is very accurate and effective for urban landscape assessment. And that and they have compared some traditional method and VR-based methods. And here is some advantages and disadvantages. So so far we can find some research gap before and do a little summary. Like past studies have mostly used some street view sources like Google Street View for evaluation, but it cannot fully capture the subjective perspective of actual pedestrians. And there are who really use these environments. And so for a few studies, they have applied the virtual reality technology to street view assessment, but it is just few studies. So as a little summary, we compare some with previous method for street view assessment and decide to use the VR technology as the approach for this study calculation. So here is my methodology, and this is the workflow of my research. And in this part, we will divide them into the model geometry part, street view analysis part, experiment execution part, and the data integration. So for the model geometry, we can collect a lot of data from like government data or some open data on the internet. And we can get some 2D information such like building floor plan and some 3D information such like building height. And there are also others data like sidewalks and trees. So through this data, we can like import them into the QGIS and just change it into the Rhino 7 plugin called Grasshopper. And through this plugin and including some other plugin like Ladybug or Urbano, we can do some simulation like calculate some view factors that we have mentioned before and the visual field. And there are also many other applications. So for the street view part, we decided to shoot some street view actually from Taipei City, and we use the panoramic camera called the Insta360 1X2, and it will just shoot a street view like this panoramic image. And the below one is how we really look in our eyes. Yeah. So through these videos, we can get a lot of parameters that we care about, like traffic flow or like the view factors we have mentioned before, but we will process them using deep lab V3 segmentation model. And there are also others parameters like road width, sidewalk width, like building height, arcade, store, or overpass. And we will mention all them later. So as the most important part in our research, how we actually collect the evaluation from participants, we will do a VR experiment with HTC Vive Pro. And during the participants wearing the VR device, we will ask them a series of questions using the Likert scales and like how safe do you think the scene is? So they will answer us like from 1 to 5, which means like very dangerous to very safe. And there will be 7 questions for each videos. So after the whole experiment, we will get a lot of useful feedback, and we can do some regression analysis between the evaluation from the participants and the parameter data that we have mentioned before, and we will figure out what is the like main factors that influence each evaluation. So here are some research progress so far, and until last month, we have already selected 31 residential location in Taipei City, and here is the map in my QGIS screenshot. And there are through this we have also collect a lot of parameters for all of these locations in the Taipei City, and you can see some like road width, sidewalk width, building height, height and width ratio, arcade overpass, and view factors in the form. And for the VR experiment, we have already invited 37 participants to do an experiment for us. And actually, totally we plan to invite 62 participants. And every participant will watch and rate 20 videos because every videos we plan to we want them to have more than 40 feedback, and yeah, that's all. So this will be how these participants will look in this VR device. Okay, so actually our experiment and analysis is still going on, but I still want to share some result and discussion so far. And we have did a one-way ANOVA analysis for the 740 response so far. And here are the groups that we divide each parameters. Like for road width, sidewalk width, and building height, we consider about like the suggestion from the urban planning or some open data. And for the height and width ratio or view factors, we just easily just divide it into the percentage for each part. And for arcade or overpass, there is only two choices, yes or no. Yeah. So here are some analysis results. Like for safety, road width and the sidewalk width will be the most significant factors, and their p-value is all lower than 0.005. So like we can also find that like for road width, the 30 meters will be a critical value in the research. That like for the road that wider than 30 meters, people will feel more safe. And the lower one, especially lower than 20 meters, people will feel unsafe. And like for sidewalk width, okay, so we found that from 3 meters to 5 meters will enhance people's feeling of safe. And but actually over 5 meters, it will mean diminishing impact on it. And for aesthetic, actually we are still figuring out why height and width ratio will be a key factor that influences so much. But in my own opinion, I think it's because the here from 0.7 to 2 of height and width ratio in Taiwan, the buildings are getting older and older, and people will think that, oh, it's really ugly in this environment. Yes, and we also find that like for review factor, the higher review factor will enhance people's sense of aesthetic. So which means that yes, more tree will be more beautiful for us. Okay, so the last evaluation I want to share is the residential intent, and we found that the building height will be one of the most important parameters. Yes, so which means that people will more want to live in a higher buildings, and which means it is also new buildings in Taiwan. Yes, and so sky view factor is also one of the factor, and because of height and width ratio, so we can imagine that the higher building will lead to a lower sky view factor. And yes, our research are still going on, so we are looking forward to like find more interesting results. So yes, that's all for my presentation, and here are some references.